Hey, good morning, church. Just want to come and spend a couple moments here talking about First Timothy chapter 4, and what a great chapter we have to kind of consider and study through today. Is Paul is still trying to show Timothy what it means to really be a dynamic leader. Timothy's a young man, and although he's had a big impact on the early church, even to this point in his life, there's still so much more for him to do. And it's always an uphill battle when you are younger, trying to step into a role of leadership, especially in a culture that is dominated by, elders being the ones. I mean, if you look, I love Brother Bob's point yesterday about how the qualifications for overseer and the qualifications for deacon, one of the things that it says was that they needed to be experienced, that they needed to have some time where they learned and they went through it and they had some wisdom. And Timothy didn't have a lot of that stuff. He was stepping into a role that, even Paul himself would say had given the list, and Timothy might not necessarily qualify, but there's always a but there. The Holy Spirit is really the definer of who is going to lead and who is not going to lead. And what you had in Timothy was you had a man devoted to doing what it was that God told him to do. He was a faithful student of the Lord. He was a faithful student of Paul. And he went out and he lived out this example. In chapter 4, we see how Paul warns Timothy that there are going to be those who leave because they follow lies and they turn away from the faith. And unfortunately, we still see that happening tremendously to this day. And then he also tells him that he needs to be the example. He needs to be the witness. And so in verse 12, I love this verse, and the reason why I love this verse is because it was the statement verse of the youth ministry that we left. And now coming, this is likely the last Devo I'm going to give for our time here at Boundless. It's so incredible to me how God bookends our time with this church with this awesome verse. And so verse 12 says, "Let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, in purity." And man, I cannot stress to you how important it is. No matter what age you find yourself in, whether you're older or you're younger or you're somewhere in between, this is the standard. And set the example for believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. Timothy did this, and it's the reason why he's such a dynamic leader in the early church. He listened to what Paul told him to do, and he tried to go out there and, to the best of his ability, follow the Holy Spirit and let the Holy Spirit really use him to make a profound impact on the church. And I just want to encourage you guys to do the exact same thing. The same spirit that was powerful and prevalent in the life of Paul, in the life of Timothy, in the life of Jesus, is prevalent and powerful in your life. We just have to surrender and trust him to use us to move. And I love how Paul ends this chapter. He says in verse 16, first a warning, keep close watch on yourself and on the teaching, right? Don't just say whatever, but think about what you're saying and be careful. But then he says, persist in this, for by doing so you will save both yourself and your hearers. And what that word save there means is a synonym of keep. It will allow them to keep and grow. And so I love this. I pray that you guys are blessed as you spend some time in chapter 4 today and really be encouraged by how God teaches us, just like he taught Timothy, to go out there and live it out. We talk about this often, but it really is the most important thing. Y'all be blessed as you read chapter 4 today.